Mr. Jacob, what's up, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, it's coming in clear. How about myself?
Yeah, definitely. All
Okay,
right, cool.
cool. Sweet. Hey, man, but thanks for jumping on. Obviously, this will be an edited version of the show,
Oh,
but,
for sure. Yeah.
but I've just been excited to get a chance to talk to you. See all the, obviously, keep track of all your updates and your, posts that are happening. It seems like there's a lot of good things coming your way, man. That's exciting. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about what's going on. Well, first of
Yeah.
all, to get started, tell me your name, and then let's jump into what you're up
All
to.
right. Hi, I'm Jacob Stone. I have Jacob Stone Films, and I'm also doing horror stuff under Phantom Six Productions. As far as my own projects go, I have a horror cartoon series that I'm working on for Phantom Six Productions. I just did a horror film contest for the Artlist horror film contest,
Nice.
and so just released that.
Okay.
So I kind of just dove into freelance like a few weeks ago.
How's that going? A little scary, a little exciting, all the above.
A little bit of both. I'm definitely much happier. I
Yeah.
feel like my mood has greatly increased. But yeah, a little scary because I'm like, all right, I got some bills coming up in the next week or two, like car insurance, and I'm like, how am I
Sure.
gonna pay for it? I don't know yet.
Sure, I've been there, man. I've totally been there. So, but like you said, there's a combination of both excitement and then that fear though is what drives you to like get the next gig, do the next thing, and I think that aspect. But I did it for so many years, and so certainly have been there. I used to freelance a lot too on top of working full time. And so I know both sides, but yeah, I've had my own business and freelanced a lot.
Yeah, you have nobody telling you what to do. You're in charge of it all. So
Exactly. You can fire yourself on some certain days and then hire yourself back, but
yeah,
that's how it goes. Well, this channel obviously is about 48-hour filmmaking and
yeah.
talking to a bunch of filmmakers. We connected because of 48-hour filmmaking or the discussion. Obviously, we've got a lot of stuff in common. You were
Hmm.
in Austin, now you're in Nashville.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about your connection with 48-hour films. What was your first connection with making 48-hour films?
So my first 48-hour film project was in it was either 2015 or 2016. I forget the year exactly, but our film was called Interface, and I was originally just supposed to be the editor on that, but the original DP, he had his gear stolen, and because I come from a videographer background, I'm the only one who had like a decent camera, so I ended up being DP as well. So you do the like the how you do the script writing the night
Sure.
before, and you go into
Yeah.
everything. Well, as the day filming went pretty well, but as the nighttime came around, like there was a bunch of discrepancies on what should be filmed, and
Yeah.
s- started to stray away from the shot list. And I kind of had to put my foot down as DP, and I was just like, hey, we made a shot list, like let's stick to it. And we finally got done filming at 2 a.m. And we turned in on time and everything.
Wow.
But it was definitely something that I'm gonna say that we all would have liked to improve on the next time around.
Sure.
But it wasn't it wasn't my favorite experience. So after that, I was just like, that's it. Never doing another 48. Like this is done. But then
Yeah.
fast forward to 2018, uh, another team um, full of a bunch of people that I've worked with and I really like, and they're my friends. It was The Will
Okay.
with Justin R. Durbin with Edge and Films, and they were all ready to go. They already had their team in place, and I was like, "Hey, Justin, let me edit. I really want to edit, man." He's like, "Oh, I'm directing, and I can edit too." I was like, "No, no, let me edit. Like, it'll be a lot easier on you as a director." And and turns out it was easier, and we ended up with a great film, and it changed my experience altogether. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I enjoy doing this again. So, and as you saw, I did more after that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
most
cool.
recent one being in Nashville.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. So I saw that you competed in the 48 hour in Nashville. How did that film do?
It did, I personally think it did pretty well. Like, I think the team worked very well together. The cinematography was decent. Um, the editing went well, if I do say so myself. um, Sound mixing, the music, like we all worked very well together. We turned in 15 minutes before deadline. Everything was great. Um, and we didn't win anything. We weren't even nominated for
Yeah.
anything. But that's because there was a lot of other stellar films
Sure.
that really
Yes,
really
sir.
showed. So of course they got the nominees and awards and stuff. So
Sure. Yeah, and you never know, the group of like you never know who the judges are, and you never know their temperament or whatever. Like there's always been films for me that like really like I don't get it. What is it? What was it
yeah,
about that film that made it win this
yeah.
award? And like okay, well, hey, so
And sometimes you like, oh, it's no big deal, but I would just like to know. So
yeah, exactly. Like you want to see those score sheets and see whatever they use as a score. And yeah, the first film that I did 12 years ago, we shot 7 hours of footage,
oh
three
man,
three cameras. It was the first time at it, and didn't know what I was doing for 48, and had so much coverage, and it was ridiculous. So it's funny stuff. The quick thing I want to say, and I'm going to be looking forward to sharing this. So did the Sci-Fi 48 this weekend,
okay.
and 30th. Was my 30th 48-hour film, and I think for me, I got the secret sauce. Like there's a secret sauce that I discovered, and look forward to sharing some of that. But it was an amazing time. We were done filming at 3 in the morning. We started, we got it at 7 o'clock. Got home by 7:30, and we were done shooting between 2:30 and 3. I mean, I'm at Kirby Lane eating pancakes at 3 a.m.
Oh, that's
Done
awesome.
filming in the can, which was never happened in the 29 other films that I've done.
The first night or the second night you were done filming?
The first night,
Oh, that's awesome.
it
All right.
was ridiculous. So anyway, I'll share some more about that. But it's yeah, that's part of it too is a recommitment to the 48 in light of this kind of 48-hour filmmaking channel. And I know when we first met, it was a discussion about how giving back to this community of filmmakers. And
Yeah.
so it renewed my interest in 48. And like you, I've said it a number of times, like, that's it, not doing it anymore. This is crazy. Why am I doing this? And then
Yeah.
the thrill comes back and, okay, I got to do it
And
again.
then all the people you got to work with, and you're like, all right, this is fun, and the jokes and
Yeah.
the deliria from being tired. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And, of course, this last one this weekend was great. Group of people were incredible. The whole thing went smooth as butter. So it was like, okay, that's why you do it. And it really has been. It's been because of that, companionship of other creatives working together, doing this cool
Yeah.
stuff. And so excited about that. So the next kind of stuff I wanted to kind of get into is just kind of your role in the last couple of films has been as editor. Kind of give me what's kind of your process for 48. What do you do before the weekend starts, and then talk me through what happens on that weekend of editing for a 48.
Okay. I guess I'll just focus on editing. A lot of them I've wanted to only edit, but I've ended up doing other roles, which didn't bother me at all. I love being involved, and I love helping as much as I can. But my process as an editor, um, so what I would do is, I guess if I'm just in the editor role, if I have the chance to be on set that day, I will take the footage from the DP or any of the camera ops, and I will download them and play the role of DIT. So unless we have an assistant editor or DIT, which usually we didn't, and
Yeah.
so I didn't mind doing that. And I would start organizing clips, looking for the good takes, cutting out the bad takes, and or organizing that. And then once I have footage, then that's when I would start to cut, look at the dialogue, and really form the conversation. And I usually sync the audio as I go, so that way I don't have to go back and resync everything from the beginning. I can just have it synced as I go along. And then as I usually lay down any dialogue first, because I feel like that's the main story, unless you have like montage or B-roll clips. And but then I as I'm going, I'm reading the script and I'm looking where the director and the writer wants certain shots or B-roll or stuff like that, and then I'll add in some myself where I see like facial reactions or objects that have to be in there, like such as the required prop. So I'm making sure to look for that, make sure the line's in there. Like I'm double checking that as well to make sure that we get credit for that. Um, Once I have picture lock with audio synced, um, that's when not never sure really what time that happens.
Yeah.
Like when I did the wheel, our picture lock, I got it at about 4 a.m. and then that was like my first draft. And then
Gotcha.
I met Justin at the For Real School of Film, the school that his wife owns,
Okay.
and we started around 8 again, finished it up, got a tighter cut because I had it at around 9 minutes, and then we went from there. Um, when I edited remotely for the One Austin team, which I'm sure we'll get into later, I got the footage and I kind of just went right into it because I knew there was no dialogue. Because so then I had that picture lock, even like the final cut and everything around 6 a.m. Sent it to the team, and then I was done. That's when they handled posts and all that stuff. And then for the Nashville one, because I was also DP, we had an editor, but he had work come up, so he left the team a few days prior. So I ended up taking on the role as editor as well,
Okay.
and I started editing I think around 9 p.m. and then got picture lock around 5 a.m. Sent it or started on the export and stuff like that. That way I could send to post sound and then the composer
Yeah.
to start doing their thing.
So what's different?
I know that was a bunch of rambling.
No, that was good. Like I said, I think I mean it's very very helpful. I know that the people that I've been talking to who are listening to the stuff I'm sharing, that's the kind of stuff that they're looking for, and they're really, and it's really helpful for me too, learning what other people's processes are, and it's inspiring. And again, I'd argue one of the inspiration for this weekend's film came from interviews that I've been doing. A couple
Yeah,
of people, and then it made me realize that in terms of story, because you just don't know what you're going to get, and you have seed of ideas based on location and people, but you just don't know what genre you're getting. It's just all over the place. And one person had shared about how the whole story came together as an accident, and it made me really think about, and I've always used the analogy about being a good jazz musician, that you just practice your scales and your chords, um, you know, uh, and then you go in Austin. There's the Elephant Room, and there's improv jazz improv
yeah,
night, and now people just jam like, oh my god, this is so good, and no one's ever played together. Like, how the heck did that happen? Well,
yeah. You didn't like practice as a team.
yeah, you didn't practice as a team, but each individual, they know their stuff. They know their chord progressions. They know their scales, and they know the theory of it, of improvisation, and they now can jump in. So
Yeah,
something like that clicked for me, and it's things like that. So I know that you've also worked remotely as an editor. What's different, or if
yeah.
any, about that, since you're like in a completely different state.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was a little surprise to me at first, and the reason I say that was they already had an editor as their main editor, and my original purpose for that team was to provide backup assistance, like secondary assistant editing, or any. I was also going to do graphics during the credits, and it was just going to be like the small extra fluff on top that they wouldn't need to turn in, but just extra to make the film look even more awesome.
yeah.
So, like, I think a few days prior, something came up with the editor, and they didn't have one. So Sheila reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, we need you as an editor." I'm like, "Yeah, backup assistant. That's what I'm doing." And she's like, "No, the main editor. Like, our other editor is no longer on the team." And I'm like, oh man. Like, is there anybody else? Like, and Robert Moore was the DP, and he's like, I can edit if I have to. And I was like, well, I know what it's like to shoot all day for these 48s and then edit, and
Right.
it's a hassle. So I was like, all right. And it wasn't that I was worried about editing or my skills as an editor. I was more worried about the team turning in on time, because
Right.
you have the extra steps of trying to transfer footage, and depending on internet speed, and like
Sure.
just adding these variables that could end up with more
Yeah.
technical issues than you needed. Um, but we worked very well. Like, they worked efficiently on their end, and I think they were done shooting by Saturday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And at that time, Calvin, who, awesome, he not only did a lot of post sound stuff, but he also helped DIT and was like the go-between the transferring and stuff. He started uploading the footage to a Google Drive folder that I created, and so what they did was to really help I guess make the upload time faster, was they made proxies first, so they weren't uploading the full 4K footage.
Yeah.
So the footage was able to upload really, really fast. And then they already had their Premiere Pro project and everything in place. Like, they had the footage imported and all that stuff. So I did my editing in Premiere Pro, and then when I was done and I got picture lock, all I had to do was send over the project file, which was like a few kilobytes. So then all they did was download the project file, import it, reconnect all the high-res footage, and everything was edited in place. So,
Nice.
so yeah, it wasn't a long
Yeah.
transfer. I had decent internet connection on this side. They said they had decent on that side. So
That's
all of
great.
that worked pretty well. Yeah, it ended up being pretty seamless. And
Yeah.
luckily there were not a lot of changes, to the cut at all. Actually, there wasn't any. They said they loved it, and just for time's sake, we just kept going, and I stayed on my end. Like, if they needed any technical
Yeah.
stuff,
No,
like there
that's
was just
cool. The
yeah,
I two projects. I worked on one with a uh, director in Florida, and I
yeah,
was just shooting stuff and had to upload, so I wasn't editing. I just shot a scene for the film,
hmm
for the sci-fi. It was the Austin Sci-Fi 2 years ago. That was a remote, but it was just one piece. But then this
yeah,
48 before this one this weekend, my editors who were my daughter and my son-in-law in New York, and so yeah, I was working all that out, and then in the end, we were just sharing the project file, but that initial upload of all the source files were, but I shot everything 4K, so I had to actually convert it all to 1080p
yeah.
pro whatever proxies for them, and
hmm
then I substituted back with the 4K. So they really just got low res proxies to edit with, and it worked out great. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like when I first started using proxies, I expected it to be like so low res, it was so pixelated and you couldn't see anything. But I was just like, you can tell they're lower quality, but
yeah,
you can still see just fine, and it made editing was so fast.
yeah. No,
So
that's cool. Yeah. So I know I wanted to talk about editing because I know you've done that, but I know you're also a cinematographer, and
mhm.
everything else. So I wanted to kind of get your take on the rest of the stuff, both and really, I'm really interested in a combination of things, the story, and then now as a cinematographer, how you in a 48, how do you prep for that, and tell me a little bit about some of the process you have for as
Okay.
in those roles.
Okay. Um, well, I have a little bit of writing experience, so I don't help too much with the story. Like I took a script writing class in college, um, and I, you know, I gotta say I think I come up with some decent ideas. So whoever's directing or on the writing team, like I'll be with them if they want for like brainstorm purposes, and I'll pop in ideas. But once they don't need me, or if they don't need me at all, as far as gear goes, I'm making sure batteries are charged or charging overnight. I'm making sure everything's in their cases or boxes ready to go because usually where all the gear is, that's not where the location is. So everything's got to be packed, ready to go. And then like making sure media is ready, whether it's cards or if you're using an external recorder, the hard drive. For this past one with Nashville, we thought we were going to have people. We did have one person come from out of town. No, I think two people. So Chris and I, we decided to have an Airbnb for the weekend, and so that really helped. So Friday night, while they were like getting ready to write and stuff, I brought all the gear and took it to the house that night and had everything already at location. So that saved a lot of time.
Gotcha.
Uh, but then in the morning, depending on how many people we have, it's setting up stands, making sure all the camera settings are right, putting everything like camera on the tripod and getting all that together. And I come from a videographer background, so not only editing but with the cinematography and like G&E and stuff like that, I'm used to uh, really going with the flow and not, I don't know, I don't think this sounds bad, but I'm saying not planning everything out. So from like shooting weddings and all the stuff where you only
Yeah.
have one shot and no, I, I guess I set it up that way. Like I know how to just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be like exact or always planned
Yeah,
out.
and that's hitting on the I mean, it's kind of stuff that I knew, but it really solidified for me in the last couple of months, and then really with this last one applying it in a very conscious way of knowing, yeah, because I knew in as a cinematographer for all these 48s that I've done, I really was improvising anyway, and it very much was like live events, and I shoot a lot of live events by day.
Yeah,
And so you don't, it's a live event. You don't know what's going to happen. You're trying to now create the story as it's happening in front of you. And then,
exactly.
and then it kind of hit me. It's like, oh, that's the secret sauce for me in 48-hour filmmaking. It's like, you're already doing it with film. Let's do it with story as well. And when those two kind of
Yeah,
came together for me, it's like, oh, and it was just a fun time. And it was a fun time for the actors because whereas I've always, had a script and a script that's properly formatted because I've worked with a lot of actors, and I just started with them. I said, hey, look, we're just going to write an outline, and then you guys are going to have to improv. And so I wanted to make sure I had actors who were good with improv, and they killed it. And that's for me what really is on this particular one. I don't know if it can work for everyone. We'll see because I'm going to try the same thing. I got another
yeah,
film this weekend, the Four Points Film Festival, and I got one more in
yeah.
December. But we're gonna try that same sauce, and we'll see what
See
happens.
if it
But
works out.
yeah, but I think you're right. It's that approach that you have to live event filming, and so just applying some of that similar idea.
Yeah, because with that stuff, I mean, you have one shot. You're not like you got a bride and groom coming down the aisle or whatever, and you're like, "Hey, no, scrap that take. Let's take two. Go to that."
Exactly.
Like, you don't have that.
Yeah.
To speak to that a bit, I have to bring up this one wedding I filmed. I didn't realize that the sun was going to go down so fast, and I didn't have a camera light
Oh
on my
no.
camera. So as the bride was singing to her groom, you just see it getting darker and darker and darker because the sun's going down, and
uh,
because everything started later than it should have.
yeah.
And by the time the bride was done singing, like it was almost pitch black, and I'm just like,
Uh,
uh, so
there you go, man. That's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. All those things. So if you had some pro tips, what would be kind of your top three that bubble up to the top in for, because again, we've got the audience for this channel is brand new 48-hour filmmakers. They maybe have not done one at all, not participated in one. They want to, they heard about it, and maybe some folks have done one or two, and
yeah.
they want to learn some stuff. So what bubbles up to the top is kind of top pro tips from Jacob Stone on 48-hour filmmaking.
Well, I think the biggest thing that from the few I've done so far is have fun, like relax, because people are going to be tired. You're going to be stressed. You might not always get a chance to like eat right away between takes. You're grabbing snacks, so tension's going to be a little high, but keep your spirits high and have fun, and it's going to make things go a lot more smoothly, I think.
Yeah,
So that's a big thing I've noticed. Number two, I think prep as much as you can. Of course, it's a 48, so you can't, do too much prep beforehand to break the rules.
yeah,
But the prep you can do is work on makeup looks, have wardrobe ready, equipment ready, have designated positions. Like you might not have every position filled, but have people with their designated position. That way they know what to focus on, what they're going to be doing, and that way everyone can work as efficiently as possible.
yeah,
And I'd say the third one, you brought it up with talent, and I kind of have to agree with improv because I'm not sure if there's any in Austin, but in Nashville, there's a few improv places, like you can take improv classes,
yeah.
and we had some improv actors, and I think that really helps too because you write a script, and sometimes you don't always stick with the script.
Right.
So having actors and actresses that don't need to like stick 100% to the script and they can think on the fly in the scene is great because then you could be like, oh man, that wasn't what we were thinking or written, but that was awesome. We're
Yeah,
gonna keep that, and
yeah.
that helps as well.
Yeah, because that's
Um,
really what's happened as well. When I've thought back on the many films that I've really liked and thought there was some great moments in it, a lot of times it was, yeah,
yeah,
it was the idea of what the script had, but all the movies that I've worked on, the final edit, right? I mean, my take has always been there's the movie you write, the movie you shoot, and then the one the audience sees is the one you edit. So that's why I love
yeah,
being an editor, right? Because that's the real movie that people see, even though it
yeah,
could have been written. And then 48, between Friday at midnight and Sunday when you turn it in, that movie has completely or the story has changed enough that it
yeah,
wasn't the original story that was decided on midnight on Friday night, the nuances, the shifts,
yeah.
and
That's
all kind of stuff, and
exactly.
and I think that's a big thing to be aware of.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was with Interface. The edit, they didn't expect it, but they said it worked out really well. Uh, so yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so that's what like this one that I've got some great improv. I mean, I want to create another film from the one we turned in because it was so much great performances, and so the great thing stuff was done on, said we were done at 3 a.m. I went to bed on a Friday night, which is rarely
Really?
ever
Yeah.
happens, and I slept, for a couple hours, excited to start editing, and so by Saturday at 4 o'clock, I've got a rough cut that just looks awesome already. But it was choosing
Yeah.
from all the different shots, and then I got to spend the rest of the evening refining it. And then Sunday was all polish, and it was a lot
Mm.
of fun. And then we got a custom score, but all that because I was able for the first time to get a rough cut on Saturday afternoon,
Saturday.
which for me has never happened. And so that was a lot
Yeah,
of fun because I've never had one
yeah,
that's quick.
yeah. I think what didn't help with interface was so it was my first one, and I because we didn't get to bed so late on Saturday, I didn't start editing until like 9 or 10 a.m.
Wow.
But I'm a fast editor though.
Yeah.
So I got a picture lock by 2 p.m. and luckily we had a fast composure and we got it turned in on time. But that's one thing I learned as well, that the earlier you can get that picture lock, the better. Like we just for the Nashville one, we got it in at 5 a.m. and as you said for this one, you got
Yeah.
it in Saturday at 4 p.m. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was great. And then the composer now really had a good. I mean, he wrote the composition for the first, because it was a near close to 7 minute film. The first 4 minutes were beautifully composed on Saturday, and then he finished it on Sunday morning when I gave him
yeah.
the rest of it. But anyway, it was so this film was a lot of fun. I'm excited for people to see it. We got horror spoof, and so it was a fun. It's a fun spoof. We were making fun of
Yeah.
horror films,
Huh.
and
That's awesome.
so it was hilarious. I was having fun watching it being recorded. What kind of gear do you like? What kind of gear do you use? What's some of your favorite tools for the trade of filmmaking?
Okay. I guess I'll talk about editing first. Right now, I currently use MacBook Pro, spec'd out with the Adobe Creative Cloud. So I edit in Premiere Pro. Ideally, if I have the money, knock on wood, I want to upgrade to the Mac Pro when that eventually comes out. Granted, it'll be a while until I get the money, but I think with that being all the parts being upgradable and just how efficiently I already love Apple Macs, like
Yeah,
MacBook Pro, I think it'll future-proof me for a while with editing and handling the 4K through 8K, 16K footage that's coming out, and like I'm starting to do some more motion graphics and stuff like that. So I
yeah,
think that's going to really boost that on that side. As far as cinematography, the gear I have right now, I have the Sony FS5 and the Sony A7S II, and I use my not so much for corporate stuff because they don't call for it, but more for the filmmaking stuff. I use the Adamus, Shogun, Inferno as well, and do a lot of ProRes stuff. Um, I plan to stay with those for a while. Just once again, money and their cameras will work great.
yeah,
Eventually, when I have the money, I want to go like over to the Eva and switch more over to Panasonic because I'm just really impressed with what Panasonic's doing with their cameras
yeah,
and um, I guess for lack of better terms, not limiting what their cameras can do internally. So so that's where I see myself going within the next 5 to 10 years. But right now I'm a Sony guy,
yeah, yeah. No,
and
yeah. I love Sony's. I've before I had that one behind me, the EVA one. Yeah, it was
mhm,
Sony. I still got the Sony, and
yeah,
I use on a daily basis an FS5, an A7
yeah,
R2. I have an A7S2 sitting there, and then my newest one is the XT3, which I love. It's incredible.
oh nice.
But I actually
Is
want
that
to
a Fuji?
Fuji, yeah,
Yeah,
XT3
okay,
is, and for the price, ridiculous. I actually like it a
yeah,
whole lot. I almost shot with it, but I love my EVA. It's just too beautiful. Um,
yeah. I wanna
yeah.
get that. I was looking at the dual ISO and the 10-bit internal
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And I was just
And
like,
then you can, with the Atmos Shogun, you can shoot raw, which I didn't want to do for didn't want to do for a 48
yeah,
because it's like why do I want to kill myself? But but yeah, I want to the next camera I want to get to be a companion with this is the Panasonic S1H, which is
SH1.
yeah,
Yeah,
and those two together are just
yeah.
phenomenal. And as you I'm sure know, Netflix has now also declared the S1H as a compatible Netflix camera.
Camera. Yeah,
because that's really a desire for me next year, is to now finally shoot a full length feature film. I've been part of production for full length, but I have not myself written and shot a full length feature film. So that's what's I'm hoping for in 2020, is to finally shoot a full length film. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate you sharing some pro tips and some of your experience. And like I said, I look forward to us continuing to stay in touch. And I'd
Yeah,
love
likewise.
to work together sometime in the future.